Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And gang, we've got a show for you today. And great. Our last guest just arrived. We're excited to have her. But let me introduce the topic first while she gets ready. We're going to be talking about Venezuela and whether or not the U.S. should intervene militarily in Venezuela. Recently, a carrier group was sent to the Caribbean with much speculation that they are preparing to do just that the Trump administration is preparing to make strikes within Venezuela to combat Maduro's criminal regime, as they call him. Is that wise? Should the U.S. military get involved in this? We got some great guests today, and we're going to talk about why or why not. I'm going to hand the mic first over to Get Money Dre. Go ahead, Get Money Dre. Tell people who you are.
Introduce myself. All right. My name is Get Money Dre. I host No Echo Chambers, and I'm a co-host of Between the Islands with Vince, Real Visigoth, down below. We have a podcast. I'm a human rights enthusiast. I am center left, depending on the issue. I believe that people deserve rights and freedom. And No Echo YT on X, No Echo Chambers on TikTok, and No Echo Chambers on YouTube.
Okay, what's your thoughts on the Venezuela situation?
Honestly, I get why people would want a regime change, but I personally am against direct military involvement due to fears of maybe bringing in someone worse. I would think that we should maybe arm some rebel groups or something like that, or doing some like indirect military involvement, like give aid to the opposition to the Maduro regime, because this is not a pro Maduro take. He is a monster. He has been oppressing his people for years. We need to do something about it, but we don't want this to turn to another Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya, where things have gotten so much worse since of our involvement.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. We will get into it
Thank you.
as we go. Next up, we have Nonfun. Please.
What's up? I'm Nonfun. Stream on Twitch, Kick, Twitter, Nonfun420, YouTube at Nonfun. You can also find a bunch of my old debates. Center, left, liberal, neoliberal streamer. Talk probably mostly about economics. When it comes to Venezuela, I'm not someone who's like always principally opposed to like U.S. intervention. But like I think that if your big issue, I know people cite the drugs coming from there. It doesn't seem like they're sort of the primary country that drugs are coming from. So there's probably better uses of our military resources on the margin, even if you did want to use them to combat drugs. And you could probably combat drugs in places like Ecuador and Peru and Bolivia with potentially even the cooperation of their own governments. So we don't have any issues with provoking a potentially longer conflict there. I think one of the concerns is that if we do have a longer conflict with Venezuela, we're going to be drawing resources away from Ukraine, Israel, and potentially any future conflicts with Taiwan and the South China Sea. So those are the big things I'm worried about.
Okay, we're going to get into it as we go. Thank you for being here, sir. Next up, been a while since she's been on my show, but welcome back, Samantha Savage. Give us your thoughts.
As we know, I'm pro-military intervention. Maybe not necessarily at the scale Trump wants to do things, but I'm fine with regime changes done in a more like covert type way. There's better ways to go about it without raising hell and not caring what any headlines say.
Okay, thank you for being here. We'll get into it as we go. And last but certainly not least, Vince, go ahead.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on the panel. So hello, I'm Vince. I don't want to advertise my personal channel, but I will advertise my Between the Islands podcast, which I'm doing with Get Money Dre, which is on the opposite side of the island this time. So we are BTI Pod on YouTube and Kick. That's where we stream, and also a Real Visigoth on Twitch. So if you want to check us out, if after this panel you like us, make sure to go there. We might also stream after that and cover some news as well. So my take on the whole Venezuela thing, I think that my concern is not, as Nonfon said, drugs. I'm not sure if that's my concern. My concern is basically, I remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. Not that I lived back then, but I know about it. So I know that Venezuela, just like Cuba, can be used as a proxy by somebody to attack United States, which is a very big concern for me. And I think for everybody as well, it should be. And also, I think people in Venezuela don't deserve to live under socialism. I think nobody does. So I would want them to be freed from it. And I just want to right away respond to what Get Money Dress said about being like Iraq, or what Nonphone also has some issues with this, that it might get dragged and be a long conflict. I don't think it's possible. I mean, it's gonna be like bombing a bunch of Minecraft villagers. It's very easy go. United States military is very powerful compared to Venezuela military, unless China or somebody else like Russia is gonna intervene, which I really have big doubts they will. I don't think it's going to be Iraq, or I don't think it's going to be prolonged. So I don't see any negatives here. The only negative might be understandable for me is how Trump is going to handle it, because Trump is very incompetent. He's not very competent leader in everything he does. So I understand that concern, but I believe that most of the stuff that's going to be done there, if it's going to be done, is going to be done by United States military and by military advisors advising Trump. So I don't think it's that much of a big issue. So yeah, that's my take.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, and we're going to get into it as we go. I guess the first question I have for the panel, and this is for Vince and Vince especially, but Samantha, if you want to weigh in as well. You mentioned the risk of Venezuela being used as a proxy to attack the United States. Can you elaborate on that a little bit about what you mean and how realistic that is? Go ahead.
Well, I mean the same stuff that happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis, where Cuba was used by Russia to station their nuclear weapons to threaten the United States. I think that's quite possible in the future if Russia or any other country, or if mostly China. I don't think Russia will do that, but China can as well do that. I think that's a real possibility. I'm not sure like how much is the percentage of how possible that is, but I think it's quite possible.
Okay.
mean-
and with that, yeah, go ahead, Nonfon.
I would imagine all we would have to do to avoid that, even if we did think that was a big issue, is just have some deterrent and not like an actual active or like any actual necessarily active strikes against Venezuela. Like you could just have a probably a smaller Navy presence than we already have there by now to deter any like proxy force that they would try to use against us. I don't think there's even
Yeah, but
precedent for states.
Well, I mean,
doing that.
there's other options, right? So Maduro has already engaged in like gray zone tactics, right? So like using criminal networks, migration flows, and armed gangs to kind of help with like regional destabilization, rather than just like going like what we know is like a conventional war like route. So the regime is already fine using those networks, right? So it could help like influence pressure on the U.S. indirectly through like I said, like migration flow, drug trafficking, which both like increase a lot of destabilization. Then you have people like Russia, China, and like even Iran could leverage their foothold with Venezuela.
Can you turn your mic up just a smidge, Samantha, please?
Sorry, is that better?
More.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so like you have like Russia, China, and Iran could like leverage their position with Venezuela to also challenge influence in the region without direct confrontation. Since Venezuela and Maduro is already fine using like gray area means such as like cartels, gangs, and other like armed lower level forces instead of just an outright direct confrontation or a conflict.
Yeah, I would also
Right, I
like
guess
to answer to non-fonts. You said we don't have to like intervene in Venezuela. We can just have some navy. I'm not a very big historian on the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I like why didn't we do the same with Cuban Missile Crisis, or did we do that? Because if that was the possibility, why didn't we do that? Like I'm not sure if that's gonna be a complete deterrent. Maybe going directly in Venezuela is gonna be more like option, like 100% option, not like 50-50.
I think you had much higher tensions, and there was a much bigger risk broadly with Cuba,
Nuclear.
being backed by Russia than there
nuclear.
is right now with Venezuela. I think to deter Venezuela from sort of directly attacking us at all, which I don't think is something they've really done historically, or any Latin American country since Cuba has really done. You would not like. We don't need to be doing active strikes against Venezuela. You probably only need some minimum Navy presence, and it's probably less than what we already have now. When it comes to the whatever covert attacks, I guess for one, I don't know if there's good evidence that at least Tren de Agra is connected to the regime. It doesn't seem like there's been evidence produced of that. I'm pretty sure it was either the Pentagon or State Department contradicted the Trump administration's claim that they were connected to each other. And I don't think I guess if our concern is that there are cartels or whatever that the regime is okay with using, even if we were able to do regime change in Venezuela, it maybe whatever new government we got in would be a little less conciliatory to them or whatever. But like, you're not going to get rid of the cartels. And again, Tren de Agra is not even the main cartels getting drugs into the United States with just a less friendly Venezuelan government.
So what we would need to do in order to do a successful regime change is like already have like a base of Venezuelans who are pretty pissed off at the government, which there are. There are plenty of Venezuelans who are angry at Maduro. In order to have in order to like cause to stop causing future problems in the future, or not cause any more problems, we would need to establish like a group or like a government in Venezuela first, or like arm a group that's not like let me explain this. I'm sorry. We
Okay,
need to arm, like,
we're
a
all
rebel
friends
group
here.
that's
Just
already
shake
there.
your shoulders, loosen up a little bit. You'll get it. Okay.
I want to get my point across correctly, because I get
ahead.
Samantha and Vince's position wholeheartedly. Like, we need to do something about Maduro. Instead of just invading and conquering and colonizing the country, which will then poison the residents against us. We would need to work with rebel groups who are already culturally Venezuelan and who are like already part of
Yes,
the
we already work
resistance. That
alongside
way
rebel
we can-
groups. But overthrowing like a regime doesn't necessarily mean colonization. Like 100%.
I get that, but like some people will see it as colonization.
Yeah,
If
well,
we
some people
do
are fucking
something too wrong,
retarded.
or if we fuck up one
That
time.
just is
or
what it
like-
is.
Well, the concern,
Then
I
it's
mean,
gonna go
you
back
understand
to
the concern
communism.
there would
I don't
be
want-
if we.
I don't care about concern. We need to look at the actuality of what the outcome is. So, like, if the outcome is we do colonize, then you call it colonization. If the outcome is we overthrow a regime and like do a regime change or support a regime
but,
change
okay,
with
when
rebel
you
groups.
dismiss-
No. When we support something like that and we let the rebels like have the regime change that they want, that's not colonization. That's helping like overthrow a shitty regime and helping the people pick their own regime that moves forward. That's not colonization. That's
But his concern. What I'm saying is you're just missing it as saying like some people are
You don't
retarded
want
when they
the-
call it
No,
but some
colonization or
people
whatever. The concern
perceiving
is
it
that
as
the
such.
concern would be the concern, but the concern is that when the population perceives it as such, which to be fair, there
Yeah,
are a
but
lot
the
of people in
population could be
Venezuela
fucking
who-
retarded.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, but
I'm
the
not sure if
concern
the
there is
population
the
will be
government
against
going to be
that.
Hold on.
stable?
Just let Non-Fon finish. Go ahead, Non-Fon, then I can let Vince respond, and then we'll get back into it. Go ahead.
You can dismiss it as like the people are retarded, but the concern is how stable is the government going to be if the populace doesn't support the government and they view it as some U.S. imperial government or whatever.
Okay, but when I said if they like the rebel groups that are there that are trying to get like better people in power over Maduro, right? If we let them do it, then it's not colonization. So perception means fucking fuck all at that point because we're letting them pick their leader. Like this is completely different than like us. Like when I say like do a regime change, we're supporting lower level like armed insurgencies that are against Maduro, right? And then helping them with power. This is called like fuck. What do we call it in the military? Fuck. Special Forces does it. It's a fucking something warfare. Goddamn, unconventional warfare, right? So like a lot of special forces and like groups like that, they don't directly fight the war, but they help like smaller armed rebel groups and insurgent groups that are anti those regimes do it on the behalf of us. But it's benefiting them in the long run. So that is not colonization. That's assisting with people like doing the change that they want.
Yeah,
Sure,
I
and there
agree with
are.
that.
I will say, like, there are factions within Venezuela, and there are even opposition candidates that have, like, apparently the administration has been talking to, trying to have some plan for what happens if Maduro leaves or whatever. But I don't think it's fair to dismiss that concern. The only thing I'm saying is, regardless of what the actual populace feels in Venezuela, I don't think it's fair to dismiss the concern as just saying, well, people can be retarded or whatever. That's not.
Well,
that's
I'm not
We're
concerned.
gonna
I'm
let
not
them
concerned
choose
about the
then.
people in Venezuela because it's going to be their choice, right? Like they can do from there what they want. We just take out Maduro and his like top leaders because there's like a bunch of leaders. So there was evidence of like a lot of groups working with a bunch of people in Maduro's regime, like the Colectivos, right? Which is like armed pro-government groups, but they're still not like the official army. They're a bunch of fucking criminal gangs and organizations, right?
Okay, wait.
So
What
you-
are the groups you're saying that are connected to government? Are any of these the like cartels that people are concerned about bringing drugs
Some of
into
them.
the
You're
US? Or are these
you're
just-
specifically talking about like Trump's like heavy leaning on Agua, right? Which is not necessarily so. There isn't direct ties to Maduro that we can prove on that, but there are ties where like a lot of the regional leaders in Venezuela turn blind eye and monetary support for them for what they're doing because they are bringing money back to the region in some ways, right?
Is there like
so we
significant tangible
So-
harm to the U.S. from any of those groups?
yes.
Can you?
Which is
Okay,
what?
so
Is it drugs?
couple questions for everyone. What are those material harms? Can you list them? And second of all, once you do that, the recent Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Maria. I'm going to try to pronounce this right. Maria Corina Machado. I don't know. Anyway, she's heavily involved in resistance against Maduro's regime. Instead of a military route, could we not basically promote her and prop her up as a possible?
That's what I was.
I think if we promote her, I don't know how she's gonna win because we are talking about a dictatorship. Right? She can't win against a dictatorship without weapons. And what Dr. Get Money Dre said about like arming somebody, I don't think it's gonna work because I don't know how much weapons we should give to somebody so that they will be able to actually to win against the Maduro. And also saying about like if people are gonna be against that, I feel like we can just give them choice. Like, hey, you're gonna pick up a leader that you like, make a democratic election, and in that way, it's gonna be fine for them. I think.
Okay, I still
How
want
will
an
we know
answer
if the
also to the
democratic
direct
election will
harm,
be fair?
real quick. So
Or like
Why
that
not?
that there will be democratic elections, or like there will just won't be a prolonged civil war in Venezuela, like
Yeah,
what
but
happened
if
in Syria.
we behead the government and say, okay, we are gonna have supervision and we're gonna have democratic elections, I think they can be democratic elections there.
Do you think there actually would have like democratic elections now with Maduro and that regime in place?
No, that's
Okay,
why. We all want the same goal.
So with Maduro gone, they're more likely to have a democratic election than they are right now. Yeah, would you agree with that?
I would agree.
Okay, good. See, we're friends.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
I would
we are
agree
very
with that, and
very
I think like the best outcome, and I don't know how likely this is, would be him stepping down and some opposition candidate taking power with some deal that they make with the Trump administration through whatever pressure we've applied to them by stationing half our navy down there. I just don't see. I think that outcome is probably less likely than not a super long conflict, but like some actual, you know, minimum amount of like actual conflict we have with Venezuelan governments and or the cartels there. And I think that whatever concerns we have about the harms those cartels are causing us are like there's probably just better uses of our military resources, and there are probably other ways to address those issues.
Yeah, but a lot of the cartels and their activities cost American taxpayers a lot with resources in different ways.
That's true, but I don't think Venezuela is sort of the biggest thing of that, and there are probably other ways to combat. Like you could just have
So just because
harsher,
it's not the
sort of, like,
biggest thing
stricter-
doesn't mean that we shouldn't handle it, right? Sometimes it is better to
No.
take care of
Sure,
the
but I
smaller
think there are
problem first
probably
because it's
better-
quicker, more cost efficient. Just knock that off. Start with the small ones, then lead your way up to the big ones. Like so, saying, "Oh, it's not that big in comparison to other people." I don't give a shit. It's quick and easy.
I don't
guess
know
the
if it's quick and
biggest
easy. Why
issue
wouldn't
would
is
be,
it like we've done things in the past where we cooperated with South American governments to like combat cartels. In that case, you don't have the same issues of provoking sort of a state.
We did a lot of things
conflict.
where they still prop up cartels because cartels bring money there in illicit ways and other things, right?
But you
And
recognize
so a lot of South American governments are corrupt. This is the true part, right? So like instead of working with these governments, we should change them.
But you recognize there's a high
Really
like the risk
successfully
there is
change
obviously state-on-state conflict using our military resources to fight actual state governments in South America when we have other conflicts in the world that we also have to deal with, and any type of state conflict,
what
state-on-state
other
conflict.
conflicts are we dealing with? Like where do we have like people on the ground fighting right now? Do you know?
We don't have boots on the ground, but I also don't think we would put many boots on the ground in South America. I think we would probably
We
only
wouldn't we wouldn't need to. Like I said, the best course of action is small covert operations where we do unconventional warfare and get the small rebel groups to fight it on our behalf.
I don't.
They
What
win and
small
we win.
covert actions do you think Trump is doing that we weren't already seeing?
Okay,
the
we
CIA
wouldn't
and
know.
stuff already
That's the
had.
point of the covert, right? So, like, do you think you know everything the CIA Special Operations does?
No, but I
Okay,
think
so
we could be
there's no way
fairly
of knowing
confident.
if they are doing. No, we can't be fairly confident because there was shit happening during the Iraq War and OIF, OEF that nobody knew about until like 2014, 2015 in other fucking countries that nobody
we
fucking
can
knew about for
be-
years. We do this all the time with covert operations.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I think we can be fairly confident in saying the CIA already had some operations going in Venezuela. Certainly, I think I remember like leftists being mad a few years ago.
That was
because there
long
were
ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could say fairly certainly, especially if you're saying we're doing this all the time or whatever. You know, we probably have had the CIA operating, doing some type of covert operations in Venezuela for a while.
Just to
by now.
clarify, when I the subject, and perhaps I should have been more clear, I'm talking about direct kinetic strikes through aircraft carriers, cruise missiles, and not just covert operations, but overt military intervention by
That's
the
what I
Trump
believed, too,
administration
as well, that
into
you meant.
Venezuela. That's what I'm talking about.
I thought that's what you meant too as well. That's why I picked the stance of against. But like if we were talking about covert, I guess that could work. We would need to work with the right people.
No, yeah,
to
no,
make
I get
sure
that.
that
So-
power
but
doesn't go in the wrong hands, or that we don't like start a civil war or some shit, or like we don't like leave the country like in ruin, like Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, fucking. I know it's a while ago, but like what's it called? I think Somalia. We did an operation there too as well. I could be mistaken, but
Somalia was fucked before we did the operation, and they fucked themselves after the operation.
yeah, the point is to not fuck the fuck Venezuela more than it's already fucked.
No, I get that, but like
that's-
covert operations is like so levels of escalation when you're doing things like this, right? So you have different levels. Like, so you would start with like what we've done with sanctions and other things, right? This is like the more political strategy, right? Then you can move on to covert things if that regime just still wants to play fuck around and find out. And if they're still pushing and like covert things don't work or they don't work out and things progressively get worse, like, so we do covert things. The Maduro's like, hey, we're going to put an army. We're going to start doing this, you know, make threats, right? That's when you go force, like we roll our whole Navy out there, be like, let's play. And if they want to play, that's when we can roll out a full scale invasion or, you know, conventional warfare means it doesn't have to be an invasion on ground, right? You know, Desert Storm, Desert Shield was primarily not an invasion, but we have plenty of planes and plenty of toys we can do without putting a boot on the ground. We can have a lovely trans-military member in a bunker in Colorado do drone strikes from the comfort of an air-conditioned building. If we wanted to, but like, yes, covert operations is just a step in the ladder of escalation.
But the
I'm
biggest
totally in support of
issue
overt
with
operations.
boots on the ground type. I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something first, Vince?
Yeah, I said I'm
Was-
totally in support of overt operations and like a full military invasion. I don't see a problem with that.
I do
You're in
only because
support
I
of-
don't want country being
Wait,
like the country being in worse. We are, first of all, Venezuela already has a sizable opposition in the country. It's not like a tiny group of people that are like coming out and saying it's like, what's her name that won the Nobel Peace Prize? She won it for work with the opposition of the Maduro government. We would need like think that if we like trained like, or did covert operations, that would be a good way to help keep the stability of Venezuela, but kick out that corrupt leader.
I don't think they
Now,
will
if
be
that
able to
fails
do that.
Work, now, if that fails to work, then we could try boots on the ground type shit. But like in the meantime, we need to make sure that Venezuela, like the people of Venezuela, are as least affected, like militarily as possible.
Why?
So that way they don't become destabilized. They don't become refugees trying to move everywhere. Trying to like we need to keep their homes.
They already are.
But I mean, you recognize insofar as the government gets more destabilized, like they would probably be worse off.
Yeah, I mean there will be some casualties of like the fucking regime change and like war and shit. But like our goal is to minimize as much of those as possible. That way, if the people of Venezuela, when they do get the new government, they will be more likely to be friendly towards us long term. Which means
I'm pretty sure a new
more-
government would be more friendly to us if we were fine just doing armed strikes against the cartels that like destabilize it more so. And that's who gets the government to become corrupt and work with. And so the government turns a blind eye or does monetary support,
I mean,
or the cartels
that's-
monetarily support the regime. So like, I think doing direct strikes, overt, hey, look at this shit, everybody else, and do that to the cartels, that would do more benefit to these like South American countries than pussyfooting around.
We're not even going to war with Venezuela at that point, right? You're saying we get a government that's friendly to us in charge of Venezuela, and then just cooperate.
Take out Maduro
cooperate
too.
with them on attacks
No,
against cartels.
take out Maduro and then take out the cartels, and cool power.
So we would go to
vacuum,
war
let's
with
hope it's good.
Venezuela, overthrow their government, and then once we have a friendly regime in charge, we would then cooperate with that friendly regime on getting rid of the
You
cartels.
behead Maduro first. You let the people pick, and then you take out the cartels.
How you
The
pick
beheading
correctly?
Maduro first part. What do you think would be necessary to do that? And also, what is there big harms that Maduro is doing to the U.S. Also, just mostly the cartels?
Is it just does it just have to be big harm to the U.S., right? They're destabilizing
No.
they're destabilizing neighboring countries too, like any and all like governments, right, or regimes that participate in like kind of like are friendly to cartels and criminal organizations like that are doing way more harm to themselves and neighboring countries, and especially since we have like a pipeline of people that are coming up from South America into the United States, right? We're not getting people or immigrants or refugees at their best, right? We're having, this has put a massive monetary burden on border issues on other countries between Venezuela and here, and on other countries that they're fleeing to that are safer than Venezuela, neighboring countries that are all destabilized by cartels and criminal gangs and organizations like that aren't going.
So when you say behead Maduro, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, my bad. But when you say behead Maduro first and let the people pick, how do you know they'll pick correctly? How do you know they'll pick someone who is friendly
election.
to us and our goals?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be our goals. It has to be better goals for their people, because like if we can help them stabilize through a regime change, right, then that is an alignment with our goals, right? Because if we let them pick and they pick the right person, great. That's like the best possible outcome, right? If they're not participating with the cartels, if they are strong on pushing back against cartels and other criminal organizations, if they're not willing to participate and do financial support back and forth because they're benefiting from each other, doing illicit activities and being corrupt, right? This is like the best outcome. If that happens again, cool. More bullets. We've got plenty.
Okay, so like going back to say like why does it have to be our goals? Why can't better goals for their country? And I believe someone asked that. I don't remember who, but our goals are their better goals. Like we want them to have a better.
What are
more
hold on,
democratic
just real quick. What are our goals in the region according to you guys? Like according to Namfon and to Dre, what are America's goals or interests in the region regarding Venezuela?
to get rid of Maduro, get rid of communism, establish a free, democratic, capitalist society.
And that
yeah,
that
primarily
is the
stability
goal
and
of the United
democracy
States.
should be our goals.
Want the military intervention be the right choice for that?
I'm not convinced that's the case.
I'm not either.
I don't agree. I agree that like in principle, like you can have a military operation aimed at those things. But for one, I think a lot of the things Trump is doing right now is not even attacks against the Venezuelan government. He wants to essentially go after cartels, and that might provoke something with Venezuela, to some extent, it seems like he has definitely had harsh rhetoric towards the regime in Venezuela and wants them to be changed. But I don't think that the actual outcomes from anything other than some deal with the opposition candidates would actually be good for stability and democracy in the region.
Do you think that if we make a deal with opposition candidates, they can overthrow the government?
They wouldn't overthrow the government in that case. So my understanding, there have already been talks between Trump administration officials and opposition candidates in Venezuela, and they basically have some plans for what happens if the current regime falls or if Maduro steps down as to what would happen next.
But what
so
if they
could
yeah, what if it doesn't fall?
I don't know what you're asking. What will
then
Trump do?
If failed, if the covert operations and arming the rebel groups fails, then we can do what you guys suggested and invade Venezuela.
So for how long should we try to do covert operations before we're gonna try overt ones?
I don't know about the exact time frame because I was never in the military, but like I think when we run out of options, I don't know the exact time frame, but when we run out of opposition options, then we do
Okay, so
boots on the ground.
a majority of Americans, right, mostly Democrats, but a majority overall, oppose any sort of military intervention against Maduro, to topple Maduro or to affect regime change or anything like that. Does that give the Samantha's side and Vince's side pause when it comes to the U.S. Use of military force within a foreign country like Venezuela? Do you think that Trump should or needs to get approval from the American people before he institutes any of these things? Go ahead.
Well, I would wish there was approval, but if there is not, I'm fine to do it without the approval.
So even with no approval, they don't care. Everyone opposes it. You have 80. I don't know the exact percentage, right? But let's say there's like 70% of the Americans are like, nah, don't do this. You would support the U.S., Trump specifically, using the military to go in and topple Maduro.
Yes.
With boots on the ground, to be clear. Like the president
Yes,
unilaterally, under what authorization could he even do that?
I mean, he's commander-in-chief, right?
Yeah, it does not give you the ability to launch a boots on the ground invasion absent.
War,
yeah, like
but Congress and people are different things. I don't think Congress is gonna be necessarily act like people. I feel like Congress might act differently.
Sure, but this is a check that Congress is supposed to have on the president. Congress has obviously granted the president leeway in determining sort of who he can strike with regards to terrorist organizations that had something to do with 9/11 and all the war and power authorization acts that we did. But this is something that's supposed to give the American people who also elect congressional representatives some check on the president for, right? And you're saying the president should order a boots on the ground invasion.
Well, if it's illegal, I don't think he should order it, but I hope the Congress is going to be supportive of him.
Well, I don't think there'd be a legal basis for a boots on the ground invasion into Venezuela. I think the legal basis for strikes against cartels is probably already pretty iffy, both internationally and domestically.
A direct attack on Americans for Congress to, or
not necessarily human rights. A friend, or human rights violations and allies too.
Oh,
and I mean, just a reminder, we're not doing this alone. Like, we do have Trinidad and Tobago are helping us. There's other Caribbean and regional states. Yeah, Colombia is. There's Guyana, right? Also was pro the deployment of us doing that.
I just thought of something. Sorry. Why can't we assist like Colombia, Trinidad, and Guyana in like helping overthrow the Venezuelan regime too?
Assisting, right? Assisting is what we're doing essentially. We're all working, like all these countries are working together.
We were assisting Guyana and all these.
So think of it. This is equity, right? This is equity. This is equity in practice,
right?
So you have a bunch of smaller nations that don't have the same military capability, right? And then you have the United States with a massive military capability. So the way equity works, right? The people that can help the people that can't. So we're just doing the most leftist ethical thing by providing a large amount of military support since we have it and they don't.
Okay, but we were supporting all these South American allies like before Trump did anything, like put like I think it's like 14% of our Navy in the Caribbean, right? Like I think we have 10,000 troops or whatever in Puerto Rico right now, supposedly on some active alert. We were like, this is not like, we're doing these covert operations. We're supporting our allies, whatever. This is a pretty unprecedented level of active involvement that is drawing away resources from. I mean, we don't have an aircraft carrier deployed in the Middle East right now for the first time in like 20 years.
That's a tragedy.
I mean, I think the harms done by like the Houthis, for example, which to be fair, I don't think much has happened there since the ceasefire. It's probably greater than the harms done by the Venezuelan government. So we should probably focus on the stuff that the Houthis do.
Yes, Wahhabist fundamentalists are explicitly more dangerous than cartels. I would agree.
That is true.
So you understand why I would probably want a lot of our military resources to go to the Middle East.
But do you know what the difference between like Wahhabist fundamentalists and like people in South America that are involved with like cartel and stuff with cooperating regimes? Is there's a direct land bridge that connects to us?
Okay.
Okay. The Wahhabists are way over there. They're less of a threat, but like helping out our neighbors is a way to help ourselves and our neighbors at the same time. And if we were fine liberating people from other like horrible regimes, but now Venezuela is a fucking problem because Trump's doing it. Mind you, I'm not a big fan of Trump. I mean, he's a fucking mouth breathing moron. But like at the same time, broken clocks right twice. So
again, I don't have any problem with helping our neighbors. I said on my the first thing I said, I'm not principally opposed to intervention, generally speaking. I just think the concerns that we bring up with Venezuela or whatever, probably better ways to use our resources, even for those goals. Again, if we're concerned about drugs or any of the other, I guess you say Venezuela is also destabilizing other countries, but even then, it seems like there are cartels in other countries that probably do more harm to other South American countries that we go after with the
larger countries with larger populations that are engaging in larger cartels because they just have a more like bigger population is bad. Yes.
No, I don't think it's
math good.
Like I'm just talking about the number of drugs coming from them. I'm not talking about like I'm not like using per capita numbers or whatever. Like,
okay,
you understand? Like, if
go ahead, finish your
like, if it is the case that like more drugs are coming from Colombia and like we have there's DA reports that say as such. Like Colombia is a much bigger issue for this. Peru and Bolivia as well seem to be sort of bigger issues. And if it is the case, I don't know if all those governments would be willing to cooperate.
Okay, so
with
taking
us.
out smaller
But we
scale
could-
regimes and smaller scale cartels is going to be easier, more cost efficient,
But
and quicker, and it can send a message to the larger ones to stop participating with regimes. So something's going to be a
hold on.
smaller scale. No. So this is how warfare works. So something's going to be smaller scale, cost effective, and quick. It's much easier to do that with like a high level of force as more of a deterrent than to fucking pussyfoot around and like go tackle a large one that would end up in a long term, more what you were afraid of earlier, saying like it turning out to be more like another Iraq, right? If we go after something small, quick, and easy, cost efficient, and ready to go with the support of other neighboring nations.
Okay, what
I say
is the
no.
guarantees that it will be quick and easy? Quick, focusing on the quick, because we have a habit of going and getting involved and entangled in foreign
Why?
affairs, and then being there
Why, Wick?
for far longer than
Why?
we intended.
Why? I was there in that big, long, fucking retarded conflict. Why were we there so long, Wick?
A lot of reasons, right? We were
Yeah,
looking
because
for
the
nation
back and
building.
forth of, hey, we can't do that. This is me. Oh, we can't do that. We can't. We had the full backing of the ANA. These fucking ROE cucked us. These fucking, oh, you have to do this all ethical. It's fucking combat. Why do I have to kill a terrorist in some fucking ethical manner? The point is to kill him. You're fine with me killing him, but I can't kill him with
Are
this
you
size
okay with
fucking
the
bullet because
military
you got a fucking
intervention in
problem.
Venezuela being done in an unethical manner?
If we are killing cartel members, if we are killing cartel leadership, if we are killing Maduro, I don't care how they kill him. Kill him. The point is like to kill these people. That is like one of the biggest deterrents from doing this. If you start taking people out in the fucking town square, say they did this and fucking put 9 in their head, right? It's a pretty big deterrent. Other than like, hey, we're going to
Okay.
look the other way and the regime's just going to fucking give you
Well,
money.
if
We're going to participate,
deterrence
become
what you're
friends, and you
after,
can do whatever you want.
Why kill them? Why not hang them from a cross upside down and let everyone again torture them for
That kills
days
them,
and
so fine.
months? Right? If we're looking for just deterrence, why would
Okay,
you be opposed
bullets
to
and
that?
drones are more ethical than doing that. That's some cartel level shit. That's what they would do.
Well, I'm just saying when we talk about deterrence, but when we talk about ethical rules of engagement, yes, obviously we're going to kill these people. That's the goal, right? Is to remove them. But there are certain things that we don't want to do, such as that will risk causing overt collateral damage that is outside the scope of what we want. And my concern with Venezuela is not just that we're going to hit targets that don't deserve to be hit, but also that we will be there for years, and the costs will far outweigh any benefit we gain from this deposing.
We don't
Maduro.
have to. This is why you use the level of escalation, right? So if you were to do so, mind you, like the wars of our time, Wick, right? So like we just went in fucking blind. Something happened and we just rolled in, right? If you do these like covert things and you do them right, you're gathering intel, you're following people, you're getting things, right? Then you can scale that because you already have information actionable, right? And so movements are predictable, locations are predictable, they're known. We go in, we cut heads off.
And we think that the Venezuelan invasion, or if it gets to that point or whatever, like this is not a just we're going in blind thing. This is a super well planned thing that Trump
We've
just
had
started
CIA
doing.
there. We've had CIA there for a while. We have other
we had
neighboring countries
CIA
that
in
are-
Iraq
we have
before we invaded Iraq.
nowhere near the long term that we have had now with cooperation of local governments. Like the governments over there were non-cooperative in the Middle East for fucking ever.
Hey, Smith, I got a question to ask you.
12.
So I know you said that your position is to. I know you're on the opposite team here. We said earlier that we already had allies in the region. This isn't like Iraq or Afghanistan where we have nobody really. Why can't we train the Colombian, the Guyanese, and the fucking Trinidadian militaries? And
They
like,
don't have enough people, and they're already sitting in their countries fighting the same cartels that are working with other cartels that are in Venezuela. Like a lot of military resources in all these countries are tied up, either helping the cartels or fighting the cartels.
And what regime
let
do
me-
we have him ready in place to replace Maduro?
Well, that would be colonization if we put somebody in there, right?
Well, who do you think is most likely after we get Maduro out of there? Who is most likely to assume power after Maduro?
That I don't know for sure.
Do you think that may be an important question to ask before we engage in regime change? If you don't know,
Isn't that up?
how do you
isn't
know
that
that
up to
the next
Isn't that up to the?
the next people in line aren't worse?
Well, don't we have it's fucking George Jorge, and fucking there's Maria, there's George, and was there more? I don't think so. Erusha, I think.
You think? Okay, fair enough. Okay.
And, but George, the first one, I believe he's in Maduro's regime. And then Machado's a fucking psychopath. And then I don't know much about Erusha.
Okay, well, so let's just look at Jorge here. George Jorge or George. I don't fucking know how to say those kind of names. What is his regime likely to look like, and how would it be better than Maduro?
Well, if it's not communist, then I think it's definitely going to be better.
Well, he's currently in the regime of Maduro, so he likely has some connections to communists.
Yeah, but
Well,
he's like a lot of the people within the public don't like him.
ISIS guy that rules Syria, I think it's going to be fine.
A lot of people don't like him though. Like, so he doesn't have the support of the people really, or opposition figures either. Like this would be if Maduro like just stepped aside voluntarily or got killed, like, and they promote from within, it would be George, and he doesn't have a lot of broad support.
Don't you think it was probably the most likely outcome the U.S. military could achieve?
And then,
unless we're gonna,
what is the ideal outcome? Let's start there, maybe. If
Free
we could,
Venezuela,
if everything goes
democratic
perfect,
freedom.
if everything goes
Capitalism,
perfect,
freedom, democracy, you know, that's what we all want, right? Is freedom for the Venezuelans, end of communism, you know, like.
yeah. But what if the
people are not,
Venezuelans
like,
keep electing communist regimes?
I don't think they will. I doubt that.
I don't either.
Okay.
Like, there's already sizable opposition to the Maduro regime. I could be wrong. They could elect them as a communist, but
Do we go back in if they do?
We kill all the people then.
100 times over.
We nuke them.
True.
I don't
Do you
want this
see
turning
how
into another
unserious this
That's
sounds?
the issue.
just a reminder, they're not socialist or communist. They're pretty much an authoritarian capitalist state at this point.
Are they?
They're
Yes.
authoritarian.
I mean, they
They are not communist or capitalist. The fact that like we're having this talk about Maduro and the way we are right now is definitely not socialist, definitely not capitalist, or sorry, definitely not communist. They're like a capitalist authoritarian statehood.
They're authoritarian. Like,
But isn't isn't there no private property there like it is in communism?
That's because of a military dictatorship, not necessarily because of communism, right? So, yeah, no.
But I mean,
private
there's
property,
still no private
markets
property,
or
so I
whatever.
guess it's more like
the
socialism.
entire economy planned and owned by the state, single party system justified by dictatorship of the proletariat, right? But they still have, and that would be communism, right? Venezuela still has private ownership in parts of the economy. They still have black markets for informal private trade. They have legal private businesses, and they do have a class structure. So not
Oh,
communism.
but they're very close to socialism, I guess.
Yeah, authoritarian socialism with like a mafia in charge. That's not really socialist. I'm just going to be real with you. Mind you, I hate socialists and I'm not like fond of Venezuela's fucking regime, but they're not fucking
Like
socialists. or
socialists
communists,
who are
that's not a
run
valid
by like
reason
this
to overthrow
cartel,
them.
run by like mafia authoritarian fuckheads, is the most socialist thing I could absolutely possibly imagine.
Maybe
how it manifests in the real world.
anarcho-socialism, maybe not like,
Like that's
the
just,
right
that's just how it tends to
part of the
work.
socialist part. He's part of the Socialist Party, which is socialist on like by name, but I don't know like. Regardless,
I guess my
we all know
point
he's
is let's
authoritarian.
not
That's the
get distracted into social what is socialism debate.
Yeah.
I want to know what is in it for me as an American citizen. What is better about my life because we went into Venezuela and overthrew
We
Maduro.
could possibly establish trade and like lift sanctions and like I know Venezuela
And have more oil from them, I guess.
So more oil, but gas prices will go down. That's okay. You're talking. Let's keep going. What else?
less danger to
also-
America from Venezuela, and being and less chance that it's going to be used as a proxy state for against us, like it was during Cuba.
To be clear, I don't think it's going
And to be
to
clear-
be used as a proxy state against us. Just to be clear.
Okay.
Why
This
not?
is and that is worth both the risk that it turns out poorly for the U.S. in whatever way, and potentially turns out poorly for Venezuelan citizens too, and the opportunity cost of the whatever you think the next best alternative for our military resources are, whether it be being deployed in Ukraine or the Middle East and/or going to some future Chinese conflict.
I feel like it's going to be pretty quick. I don't think there's going to be too much resources they are used to like overthrow the government.
I do
So
have a question
I
for.
think there's
if
a
we
lot of.
tried to
I think there's a lot of.
overthrow-
I
Yeah,
think there's
we
a
got
lot
like
of
three
benefits.
people talking right now. Let's do
Oh,
one
sorry.
at a time. Let's go Samantha first, then Dre, then yeah, we'll get into it.
Okay.
So I think there are multiple benefits. I mean, law enforcement and border control costs escalate because of like people fleeing and like from catch and capture for drug cartels or like interdictions, right? So we could like basically not use as much money for community damage from like drug increases, public health burdens rise, like when the drugs are in here, right? It would lower like human trafficking as well, which would ease the burden on immigration systems, border control, lessen like the struggle with like non-vetted entries and exploitation of vulnerable people in U.S. and Venezuela, right? It would be we'd have less just problem with crimes and I can't fucking talk today. I'm so sorry. Destabilization in the region, right? And then you would have when you have like foreign states colluding with criminal groups, it's undermining like global governance and basically like cohesion in that area and other areas where they're like either trying to trade with or deal with when it comes to their people. And it's taking away more benefit, and it makes it harder for the U.S. to enforce its laws and protect its front lines when they're just like careless criminal organizations being sanctioned by the state that on our side, but they're being like worked with by the state on their side. And it's like a one-way asymmetrical like fucking criminal organization that's within like state cooperation and financially tied to it.
Okay. Any responses to
So-
that? Go ahead.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Like,
Go ask your question.
obviously military intervention, like if we can assure that like this won't turn into another Libya, I would be supportive of it. But like my biggest fear is like lawlessness, civil like that country, that Libya's a shithole now. Like it used to be like even like under like that evil fucking fuckhead Gaddafi, there was still like high literacy rates and stuff like that, but like Libya has been struggling with lawlessness since the ousting of Gaddafi and struggling with a power vacuum, including there's a viral video and pictures of a slave trade there back in 2017. My question is, how do we make sure this does not happen in Venezuela?
I think we will look after them. Actively support them. That shouldn't happen. Also, I would say some concerns about like it turning into Iraq. Iraq had a pretty strong military back in the day. So mind that. I don't think Venezuela is on level of Iraq. So I don't think it's going to be that long. And I think if we're going to support them and look after them and have our regime there, I think it's going to be fine.
I mean, I don't think this would turn into Iraq or Libya just because it like they don't have as sort of strong like ethnic divides and everything that Iraq like Iraq and Syria and whoever has had. But like if we're saying, we're gonna firstly overthrow the regime via some military intervention and then to some extent actively look after Venezuela, I would imagine the military cost of that would be probably higher than whatever we're spending like screening for fentanyl at the border or whatever. And I don't even think overthrowing the Venezuelan regime would actually end the cartel violence, the human trafficking or whatever. We could have a government that's more friendly to our goals of trying to get rid of the cartels. But there are already South American governments who are more friendly towards those goals, and we could be cooperating with them. And I don't necessarily think that cooperating with Colombia or Peru or whichever states want to cooperate with us would be slower or more ineffective than trying to overthrow the Venezuelan government and then collaborating with a new regime to stop Tren de Agua.
Let me ask, this is to Namfon and to Dre. Is there a point, or what would Maduro have to do for you to change your mind on this and say, okay,
That's
I think
actually
at
a
this
really good
point
question.
we have to go in and fuck shit up.
I mean,
Okay,
if
yeah,
he invaded Guyana,
He invaded Guyana. Guyana. I
If
don't
he
know.
invaded Guyana, if there
I don't
was
know.
evidence of like a genocide or something, or if like he invaded like a neighboring country, or if he directly attacked American American ships, American vessels, or like American civilians
So
unprovoked.
genocide
That
would
would
do
that
it,
would
but short of
that
that,
would
no.
that would
And what I mean by short of that, I mean short of like him oppressing his people, not allowing free and fair elections, arresting dissidents, arresting foreign national journalists, and things like that. None of this would be enough for you.
I mean, it depends on like the situation. That's a good question, actually, Wick. But I mean, like if
All those
he was
things
like,
he's doing. All those
yeah,
things
I
I
know
just
he's doing.
listed, he's doing. I'm just letting you know.
He would have to directly affect um, either one of an invade a neighboring country or commit like a massacre or genocide or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
Or if he were to attack an American
Got you.
ship,
Got you. I got you. Widget. Non-fun. How many shrimp have to die by Maduro's hand before you go in?
listen, okay, the Venezuelan invasion is good because it's gonna destroy some habitat and decrease future insect suffering. Okay, I don't know how many shrimp. I do think like I care about the Venezuelan people. Obviously, the same reasons I support shrimp. I care about the utility of people in other nations as well. It just be like it's all just gonna be a question of the likelihood of success of some U.S. Intervention at actually getting better outcomes.
Do
And
you,
I
do you
don't
not
know.
think that our U.S. intervention would be successful?
For what exactly? I don't think it would. I don't think it would
Regime
be.
change specifically.
I think we could overthrow the Venezuelan regime. I think like that's something we could probably do relatively easily. I don't think whatever new government there that would be propped up or whatever would substantially improve the outcomes for most Venezuelan people or substantially be better for or like harsher on cartels.
Can I add something, Wick? Sorry.
Go ahead.
I forgot to add, like, for my previous point, if our covert operations continue, like, don't go anywhere within the next, I want to say, 8 months or so, then boots on the ground would be fine.
Okay, so you don't mind it. You just don't want it right now.
I want to exercise every single option first. That is why.
Okay.
I want to before we send Americans in Venezuela or before like full scale like
Certainly.
actual war.
Well, I'm fine climbing the ladder.
We never even had
I'm fine.
boots
I'm
on
fine.
the ground.
Go ahead.
Like we never even had boots on the ground to like, for example, fight the Houthis or like aid Israel at all.
Unfortunately,
or Ukraine. Like this is like boots
yeah.
on the
These
ground.
are all unfortunate. This is.
I don't even think Trump is going to ever put boots on the ground.
I think after Obama, most military leaders were so pussy about doing direct action and getting really, really involved for fear of like public pushback. And public pushback is going to happen no matter what. Sometimes things just have to be done. But what I was going to say, I'm fine with climbing the ladder of escalation. In just going forward. However, there was concern with it turning into Libya and Iraq, and that was because we didn't have a plan for anything after. We went in like really, really fast. There was no funded plan for any of the aftermath, right? We toppled leaders, governance vacuum followed, right? We had so like any form of security, like the ANA did their best, right? They were fighting something much bigger, but like in Iraq, right? Their security institutions were like broken up, they were disbanded or killed, right? The de-Baathification happened. And then just a bunch of like militias that were still like loyalists and shit fucks basically filled the gap in different regions and caused more destabilization. And then we didn't leave enough like stabilization forces and had no sequence of like action to like actually help rebuild. So we had military action and we had like nowhere near enough boots or administration or aid to stabilize post that. And like that's what happened with Iraq and with Libya, right? So like it can't be any military action can't be just like a fucking military stunt, which is one of my fears of what Trump would be doing, right? Because he's not the smartest person on the fucking planet. And he likes to pull big fucking stunts, make a political project out of something, that he shouldn't be making a political project out of. So we need like really realistic political end state goals with like legal mandates before using force, right? Define our success point. Is it like, do we have security functioning and public service functioning, and credible elections, right? Not just like remove leaders and leave, right? We need like a multilateral legitimacy, like group or coalition, like maybe get like the UN, OAS, and regional states support and cooperation before major operations. So we have like international legitimacy as well, of just being called like out for instituting some form of like puppet government, and that would help ease with aid and peacekeeping deployment in the future. A plan for stabilization before kinetic operations. So you would have peacekeepers, you'd be training police, engineers, medical people, in time to kind of like secure the population centers, and like major critical infrastructure before moving in with like major kinetic phases, and then like having those in place before we start doing that. We wouldn't purge existing security institutions like wholesale. You'd have to like reintegrate people or vet personnel instead of assuming they're all combatants and all aligned with like bad Maduro people and bad cartels and organizations. And this would be like the major lesson that we learned from Iraq. And then we'd have to honestly fund and pre-position civilian reconstruction and governance teams. So we'd have to have like money in teams. We'd have to have like security sector reform, and DDR from reform. So like disarm, demobilize, and reintegrate is DDR, and then security sector reform is SSR. Sorry.
I think no, I get what you're saying.
Just
And
real quick, can we agree that like
just real
Trump
quick,
and
Donphan.
Stephen Miller, who like Stephen Miller is the one, like I don't know if you know, is the one like authorizing half of this shit anyway, under the which is new. Technically he's probably not supposed to be able to do that, and there's also no legal review on the Homeland Security Council that he's on that's authorizing these strikes or whatever. Can we agree they probably have basically none of that
Authorization?
No plans.
on any of the stuff that Samantha
Yeah,
mentioned?
that's-
And
that's
I
the
also don't
biggest
think they
issue.
have authorization, but
I mean, the biggest issue is like if we were to do like a full scale like military like destabilization, like as Samantha said, that like Trump would just be like a publicity stunt, like a military stunt, without any actual planning. Like that's again a big issue on why we should try to avoid like on the ground. I don't know if I trust Trump enough to, or what's his name, Hegseth, or Miller, those guys enough to make an actual plan to help the people of Venezuela rather than just do like a
Just-
military stunt, like a
Yep.
and I
Just
like, I just
an
wanted to
aside
say,
before you
again-
go, not fun before you go. Just as an aside, if you're enjoying this content, if you like my content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Send some super chats, gang. I don't know why you guys' wallets are so tight tonight, but throw me a few bucks and that'd be nice. It would really help me get through this shit show of a panel. But Namfon, keep going. Then I have a question for the rest of the panel. Go ahead.
Yeah, like these people I'm supposed to be trusting so much with to plan are the same people who like have removed the legal review from the National Security Council. That's not there anymore. They totally reformed that, got rid of that, and have the Homeland Security Council now newly, uniquely in charge of some of these strikes that we're seeing on Venezuelan like cartel boats or whatever, which also does not have legal review associated with it. And they don't even inform, like there was at least one of the strikes, like the White House was not even informed because the Pentagon had like given intel on some boats being possible targets, and they weren't even informed until like hours before the strike that the Homeland Security Council had decided to do some of these strikes or whatever. I find it like there's no shot these people have any actual coherent plan.
That is the question I would have is, even if you are for a military intervention, even up to and including boots on the ground, is the Trump administration the people to get the job done? We've already seen Hegseth basically just invite reporters to the secret signal chat and things like that. What Stephen Miller making all these calls, what is inspiring confidence that this time the plans will be sound when it comes to
I
the
think
Trump
it's pretty
administration?
hard to fuck up this plan because Venezuela is not Iraq. It's much weaker in militarily. And I feel like if they're going to listen to their military advisors, they can do that, I think. Yeah, but I understand completely the
Still
concern with
can't
that.
Okay, everything in
Still
my
can't
brain
happen.
just said fuck no. like former military, this is very easy to fuck up. Everything can be fucked up, small and large scale. While I do support military intervention, do I trust Hegseth at all? No, not a fucking single tiny iota of trust for that motherfucker. That guy is the biggest fucking retard, and I guarantee you Maduro would know about our plans to overthrow him because he would be invited to the fucking group chat, okay? My fucking fear is that Trump is doing this as a look at me fucking power play, like it's a fucking political stunt. I would like to have some trust, but I can't with his track record of pulling fucking political stunts. So while I do wish the best and hope that he can make fucking right decisions, he hasn't given me very much room to stand on or believe that he would do so. However, I do have faith that our advisors and generals, when touching foreign soil or getting involved on foreign soil, I'm not talking about international waters. I don't care what happens there, happens there. That's a little bit easier to determine. But if we're going to touch ground with boots, with fucking drones, with anything, our military leadership that has been in and knows what they're doing, I have more faith in them being able to push back and be like, sir, you're being a fucking retard. That's not going to work. Would that happen? Don't know, but I have more faith in them than I do anybody in the current administration.
Okay, so you think, just to be clear, you think that despite the incompetence of Hegseth, Miller, Trump, etc., that the jobbers, if you will, would get things done and prevent it from being a total shit show.
I'm saying I have more faith in them than I do Hegseth.
Okay.
If you were to stand before me right now and say we're going to go do military intervention, direct action in Venezuela, and instead of Hegseth you had Mad Dog, right? I'd be like, dude, we're gold. We are fucking gold. There's no way we can fuck this up. But I can't with the Hegseth and the leadership.
Who's the Mad Dog?
General Mattis. He's basically God.
He's actually qualified.
Very
that would be a
qualified,
better way
yes.
of putting it than basically God, but yes.
Well, okay,
he
to the
is
Marine
qualified.
Corps, and the Army, he is one of the gods.
Fair enough.
I'm pretty sure the
You serve
only
military?
one in the administration that'd be willing to provide any pushback at all would be Marco Rubio. And to be fair, I think Marco Rubio has been involved in some of these things. But again, I would ask for Vince especially, is it concerning that one, these strikes are being approved not through the standard procedure that we had before without any type of legal review, and they're not being approved by the National Security Council, they're being done by the Homeland Security Council and Stephen Miller or whatever. And has anything Pete Hegseth done ever given you the impression that he is a competent person?
Well, Pete Hegseth is definitely not a competent person, and I think I would be worried about the legality of the strikes. So yeah, I would be worried about that.
But not enough to condemn them or whatever. I don't want to.
Well,
call you
what
to say,
to condemn? They haven't started the operation yet. They haven't started doing it illegally yet. So,
well, they've done strikes on boats, and I think the next step is probably
let's start there. Let's start there.
Sure.
Do we think that the strikes upon the quote-unquote drug running fishing vessels, whatever you want to call them, were they done correctly? Were they effective? And were they legal? What are our thoughts? Go ahead, anyone who wants.
I think I would be wary of completely supporting it because we know that Trump doesn't like due process, and we can't be sure that he actually strikes the cartel and not some random boat. So I would be wary of supporting the boat strikes.
Yeah,
I think there's
just never
probably
know.
more effective ways on the margin to use our military resources, even if we did want to go after cartels. It'd be, cartels that actually import more drugs into the U.S. than the Tren de Agua does from Venezuela or whatever, and probably from cooperative governments that might not provoke war with Venezuela as well. I don't think there's any good case to be made that it's legal. I think, by the way, if these are legal, then the proclamation of the AEA is not legal, because the argument for the AEA being legal or whatever is that Tren de Agua is the
American Enemies Act, correct?
The Alien Enemies Act. Yeah.
Alien Enemies Act.
They're they're a cartel that like has some, connection to the Venezuelan government, and therefore Venezuela is doing some predatory incursion, invasion, or whatever into the U.S. or whatever. The justification Trump gave the Congress for these strikes was that Tren de Agua is just a foreign terrorist organization, and the U.S. is now engaged in a non-international armed conflict with Tren de Agua. And if it's the case that it's a non-international armed conflict, that might give them justification to do these strikes, but it would make the AEA proclamation not legal. But I also don't think they meet the standard for like constituting any type of armed attack that would actually give the president the right to engage in self-defense against them. Because I don't think any of the statutes that give the president that power are understood to include just, the drug trade, essentially.
I think it was a mixed bag of fuckery. We had no fucking legal cover, congressional authorization or international mandates to avoid war powers and sovereignty, like any critiques, right? We didn't, so like Coast Guard, right? We do interdictions all the fucking time. There's like a really sick, like we make fun of the Coast Guard, but there was really sick videos of them boarding a fucking like moving submarine. It was so sick. Other than that, the Coast Guard doesn't do shit. But like they have strike and interdiction teams, right? Which gives us a chain of evidence, right? They had no fucking evidence chain. They had no due process, right? They were just, look, boat. I guess they're fucking cartel people smuggling. Shoot boat. No. There was no fucking direct identifiers that we could definitively prove. Nobody's seen any evidence, right? There might be some. Nobody's seen it. Nobody's tried to justify it before Congress. Nobody's tried to justify it before Joint Chiefs, right? We just did strike. We could have done interdiction and gained evidence. We could have multilateralized the efforts, right? So we can got like neighboring countries to help us with interdictions or help us with evidence chain, right? So they'd be like, hey, yeah, we've been watching these guys. These are cartel guys. They're heading your way. Okay, here's some evidence. Here's them loading like 500 kilos of fucking cocaine into this little tiny boat, right? They could have done so many other things than just point at boat from Venezuela and then fucking like strike it. And so it was just there's no real justification or evidence or like any reasoning. So like this is more like the Iraq thing, right? Yeah, cool. We can find out later that it was a drug boat, but we striked it without any evidence beforehand. So we're still shit fucks in the end and assholes.
Yeah. Like, how would you know that, like, how do we know the administration is telling the truth that it was a drug boat? Like, that's, like, we don't know. No one really
knows. Yeah, that's the issue.
Know.
There's no there's, like, transparency issues all up and down. Like, I'm fine with them just taking out drug boats. I'm fine with them striking drug boats. I don't care. That's fucking awesome. I'm fine with them interdicting.
If we know they're drug boats,
and arresting them if possible, striking them last resort. You can arrest people and put them in the prisons, right? Whatever.
Drug dealers.
Yes, but without evidence, just striking them, I think is kind of like a fuck shit ass behavior and makes us look like assholes because it's an asshole move. Yeah, so there's other options.
And it has like international ramifications and consequences many years later.
Yes, that's why I said it makes us look like a fucking total asshole.
Well, I don't think even.
I was agreeing.
Even if they were drug boats.
Just go ahead, non-fun, please.
I'm not aware of anything that would authorize the president to use deadly force against drug boats without at least some authorization from Congress.
They don't need authorization from the president. So, like the Coast Guard, if they find a drug boat and like there's people
that's for interdiction, though. Yes, that's not for drone strikes.
Yes, but like we can. That's a level that we can take. We don't need the president's authorization. If the drone is the safest way to take them out, if they're engaged upon at like the Coast Guard level, they can engage with whatever weapons they feel necessary at the time.
The Coast Guard doesn't have.
Yeah, if they're engaged upon
drones.
Would be the question, and that means that they're like, for example, if the Coast Guard goes to pull over a boat that they suspect of trafficking, and they get fired upon, obviously, that necessitates and authorizes you to return fire. And in case if a drone's the best way to do that, cool. But we're talking about where they don't necessarily fire upon or anything. Like they haven't done anything.
Yeah, well, I think we were all in agreement that there's been no evidence, and that doesn't justify it, or no evidence cannot be like there's no way to justify the strike without any evidence that they were.
Evidence of them being a drug boat, I don't think you get to declare something a foreign terrorist organization and then use deadly force against them if
that's not necessarily true.
Just because they're involved in the drug trade.
That's not necessarily true. Like if they're designated a terrorist organ, like because if you're going to go with designated terrorist organization, there are things we can do without being fired upon, drug trade or not drug trade.
Sure, but under U.S. law, foreign terrorist organization means you have to be some organization that has premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetrated against non-combatant targets by subnational or clandestine agents. I don't think anything Trent
Okay,
Arbor
I would
is like
guarantee you that like cartels do cause imminent harm to innocent people, like physical, like purposeful, malicious harm.
premeditated, politically
they are
motivated
politically-
violence
okay.
against non-combatants.
They are in bed with a bunch of Maduro's regime's people.
What is the politically motivated violence against U.S. citizens? Or even
Push back against Maduro.
that's not okay.
We could use
What
use anything. We could use an attack against a tourist in Venezuela as it. We could use anything as justification at that point.
That'd be politically motivated violence.
No, we could. We could technically do that.
I don't think the standard for politically motivated violence is they have some connection to a political entity and have done violence ever. I think it's
okay. So would you wait? Would
violence.
you call? Hold on. I want to ask a parallel question. Would you consider Proud Boys fighting citizens political violence?
It can be if they're doing it.
Thank you.
For political reasons. But
Yeah, but we wouldn't hold on. We wouldn't consider a Proud Boy who gets in fight with some dude at the bar because they got drunk political violence, right?
Exactly.
I mean, like
if the goal is political,
but
it's political.
People, there would be people that label that political violence.
Okay, but they'd be
the
wrong.
Person that was, if the person that was attacked at the bar, if the person that was attacked at the bar was a leftist, it would be labeled political.
If you make
violence.
it politically motivated, then I agree. If you do politically motivated
which is what I'm saying.
violence,
Which is what I'm saying. The Trump regime would use the smallest thing to justify the biggest thing.
I agree. I think that's what makes Trump insane, and I think that's like.
Which is why I'm saying they can. That's why I'm saying they can do this. This is something they would be very likely to do because they're fucking retarded.
They have done it. They designated Trent Agro a terrorist organization. What I'm saying is that probably is not legal.
Is there legalities regarding
them? I imagine a court at some point, if it is subject to judicial review, even would come out and say, "Hey, actually, the statute was never meant to apply to the drug trade. It's meant to apply to jihadists."
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'm struggling for directions with this one, gang. We might wrap this one up early.
Okay, Vince. Do you think these strikes are like legal?
I don't think. I would doubt that they were legal. I think they were probably not.
Okay. Do you have issues with the president ordering plausibly illegal strikes on a country that we were not we were hostile to them, but we were not at war with them previously? We're still not at war, but the potential it's potentially escalating to that.
I would say right now, maybe not. Right now, I would want a legal war. But let's say if Venezuela does something really fucked up, like let's say they start a genocide, like get my addresses, or if
why are we doing?
Or if they invade a country?
The president of the United States, just to be clear, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has already done strikes against Venezuelan boats. Right? He has deployed like a large portion of our navy. I think it's 14% of our navy to the Caribbean. I think we have 10,000 troops in like Puerto Rican bases or whatever. He's been he has, I don't know if Trump himself has said the word regime change, but he has been very hostile to the regime in Venezuela. It seems like a lot of this stuff is escalating to war. Like at least that's a credible threat that Trump wants to establish to maybe get a deal. I don't know why we keep shifting into weird hypotheticals of like, well, if Venezuela did something super crazy fucked, well, then yeah, 99% of people would be in favor of intervention, but we seem to be wanting to do intervention now when Venezuela hasn't done anything that fucked.
Well, I feel like for the future prospect, if in case they're gonna do something fucked, I feel like it's gonna be good to invade them if we have a congressional approval.
Okay. We agree we don't really have a congressional approval right now, right? Although Trump has done this retroactively, sent out a notice.
Right now we don't have
it. A non-international armed conflict, by the way, not with the Venezuelan government, but with the cartels.
Sure.
Okay. That's all I needed.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, gang, this has been a show. If you like this content, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow we're probably gonna just do call-ins in celebration for Halloween. I'll dress up as the scariest thing I know, a MAGA voter, and we'll do some role playing tomorrow. It should be fun. Call in. It'll be open call-ins. I'm gonna give outros to each of these lovely individuals. Tell people where you can find them. I have links to all their stuff in my YouTube description. Go ahead. We'll start with Dre, and then we'll just go around. Go ahead.
You can find me on TikTok at No Echo Chambers, No Echo YT on X, No Echo Chambers on YouTube, and also BTI Pod that I do with Vince. That's on YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. And did I forget anything else? TikTok? No, I believe I covered it all.
Okay.
So,
Closing thoughts.
Thank you for having me, Wick.
Go ahead. Okay. Ramfon, please.
Yeah. I mean, I think, as I argued, like the strikes themselves that we've done so far are probably illegal. Any further strikes in actual Venezuelan territory would probably be a bad idea, probably not lead to good outcomes. I think there are better uses of our military resources on the margin. Even if you want to go after cartels, I think you should probably try to cooperate with states that are already relatively friendly to us in South America that have even bigger cartel issues that import even more drugs into the U.S. But I'm Nonfon. You can stream on Twitch and Kick and Twitter, Nonfon420. And I have a bunch of YouTube videos and stream on YouTube at Nonfon. Go watch a bunch of my old debates, mostly about economics. I'll be talking to one of the people who was recently featured on that Jubilee video with Luke Beasley, one of the MAGA boomers, tomorrow. So make sure to check that out.
Good luck. No, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. Samantha, please.
I'm Samantha Savage. You can find me on Twitter at Savage Media. I not a streamer. I just talk and rant about warfare and Christianity, family, finances, etc. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. And last but certainly not least, Vince.
Thank you for inviting me to this panel. You can find the only thing I want to plug in is my podcast with this gentleman with Get Money Dre. It's BTI Pod on YouTube, on Kick, on Twitch. It's Real Visigoth, and you can find us on BTI Pod as well on TikTok. You can also subscribe to our Twitter or our Instagram, Real Visigoth, or to my personal Twitter, Real Visigoth. But I would really say let's subscribe to our podcast, because that's where we're going to have also, after this panel, we're going to have some stream as well with Get Money Dre. So please go to BTI Pod, and thank you for your attention, and thank you for watching us.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and I'm going to let you guys go. See you later.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay. What do you think, gang? How'd it go? Did you like it? Did you have fun? It was frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. Frustrating panel today. I had some basic questions. Got a lot of non-answers. It was so hard. But you know what? Sometimes it'd be like that. And I don't know, gang. I'm just out of it today. Maybe I'm coming down with something. I don't know what it is. It's just, today's been rough. So, we do what we can. Okay. It's already, yeah, Mr. Metra. We aren't going too long today. It's gonna be real quick. Okay. And it is what it is. Okay. Tomorrow, like I said, it'll be Halloween, and I will do call-ins. So if you have an issue with me, if you have things you want to get off your chest, if you have things that you think we should be talking about that we currently aren't, that would be the time. So jump on in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern to get in on that action. We are coming at the end of the month, and so any kind of donations you can give are very helpful. This month's been pretty slow donation-wise, but it's okay. We've had some really great months, and this month, I don't know what it was, but it just didn't take off. That happens sometimes. It is what it is. But any kind of super chats, any kind of gift subs, any kind of that. Really help the channel out. Yeah, really helps me out. And it helps me keep the lights on. And I would appreciate you doing it. With that said, next week, what are we going to have? Okay, next week, we have... I want to talk about the Lord of the Rings in relation to immigration. Okay, that seems to be the big thing nowadays. The Department of Homeland Security, their official Twitter, making a lot of meme posts. The Halo meme post. They did one for Lord of the Rings too. And I've gotten into a little bit of a trouble because I called ice orcs, and people didn't like that. But I stand by it. So I might bring in Charlie, and we might talk about that next week at some point. Hopefully we can get another Wick and Tolly show in next week, and that should be fun. And yeah, that's what we got coming up. And if you have, well, thank you, Partly Partisan, for the Tier 1 membership. That is appreciated. And if you have topics that you think would be good to discuss for the channel, I'd love to have you on. So always looking for new voices. Always looking for new ideas. The Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson interview. The Heritage Foundation, huge group on the right, has sparked some controversy, calling the people who are opposed to Nick Fuentes a venomous coalition. So they are not only refusing to disavow Tucker Carlson, right, and Nick Fuentes, but calling anyone who is opposed to them a venomous coalition that is seeking to change the right. So has the right fallen to racism and anti-Semitism? Are they officially kind of just gone now? It's good questions and ones we need to ask. So I might put something like there. $10 from Zonia says money for the lights or substances. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's all we got today. Thanks for watching. Sorry it was a bit of a short panel, but sometimes it be like that, right? Why drag it out? It came to its natural conclusion. We just call it good. Cool, gang? Cool. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.